Welcome to a football show, Thursday edition. He is Zach Lyons. I am Braden Gall. And yes, we survived our trip to Kentucky with Sinkers. One of the coolest experiences of my career. We'll explain. We actually got some footage from the trip, so we'll show you some of that. We'll talk Titans as they are done now for a while, right, Zach? Like nothing's happening.
July 25th, I think.
Yeah, we got like a whole month off here with no Titans news, which sounds great for me. I don't know how much fans want that, but we got some reaction to all of Titans OTAs. Christian Fulton back on the practice field. We'll get to that, of course, and all of the fun and exciting SEC schedule news that came out on Wednesday evening. I am pissed off for greatness today, Zach.
You are.
Just gonna let y'all know. And I'm gonna explain that all in just a second. But our wonderful people, the Sinkers Beverages and the Kingston Group, a big part of why I'm pissed off for greatness is I need more Kingston Group in my life is really what it comes down to. And I'll explain a little bit more about that. But how are you, sir? Good to see you, my man.
Doing good. All packed up, ready for the trip after this. I got about 2 hours before leaving the house right now.
There you go. You got is it a wedding? Is that what we're doing?
We're going to a wedding, Dearborn, Michigan. And after stepping outside for most of the day today, I cannot wait for that Michigan summer weather because it is humid as hell outside right now.
Yes, it is. Although my plants need the water, so I will take that part. So does my lawn. So here's the deal. Ryan Tannehill apparently is a pilot now. Christian Fulton is back at camp. Malik Willis has developed nicely. What did we learn from Will Levis? So we will again react entirely to Titans OTAs and mini camps now that it's all done. The players get a break, the media gets a break, the fan gets a break. We're gonna have camp starting up at the end of July, as you alluded to. We do have awesome SEC schedules, so many awesome football games to look forward to, especially you Vanderbilt fans. So many good football teams coming to your town. So we're going to talk about a lot of stuff, but we've got to at least start with what took place on Tuesday, because you talk about the weather here in Nashville. The storm came through Sunday night. The humidity died down a little bit here in Nashville, but my God, what a gorgeous day it was Tuesday, heading up to Bardstown, had lunch in Bardstown, all of this courtesy of Sinker. So before we explain it, should we just show the people what it looked like before we go in depth here? So again, football show brought to you by the Kingston Group and Sinkers Beverages, two amazing people, two amazing companies, locally owned and operated. They took us to help select the Russell's Reserve 10-year barrel pick for Sinkers Beverages. The only barrel in the world, the only place you can get this barrel that Zach Lyons helped select is at Sinkers Beverages. So here is what it looked like.
Have a good day.
So we arrived at the Wild Turkey Distillery about 1 p.m. We walk into the oldest rick house on the property, built in 1894. It's stacked 6 stories high with barrels of brown water as far as the eye can see. They have over 800,000 barrels of whiskey on site.
We just have one mash bill at Wild Turkey, so whether it's going to be Russell's Reserve, Kentucky Spirit, Master's Keep, anything like that, just depends on how long it's in the barrel and the finished proofing product. So for single barrel, we have Kentucky Spirit and Russell's. We keep it between 8 and 10 years old. Russell's will be bottled at 110 proof, non-chill filtered, and then Kentucky Spirit's a little bit lower, 101 proof and chill filtered.
Oh, this is nice. I'm not even as mad at Nate as I was a minute ago.
So as long as it passes proof above 110 and passes sensory and it's between 8 and 10 years old, we can use it for single barrel.
Cool.
In all, we tried 6 different barrels. We learned about bungholes and whiskey thieves, eventually narrowed it down to 2. We got to retaste those top 2. We argued a bit, settled on Russell's barrel number 1. It was 116.8 proof, and it was barreled on December 10th, 2013, and it will be available only at Sinkers in just a few months. It was one of the coolest experiences of my career, so special thanks to Sinkers, and of course to all of you who listen to a football show. There you have it, Zach. The sights and sounds of a trip to Wild Turkey Distillery. What a cool idea, man. Sinkers, thank you guys. It was so much fun. Tim Dodge already in the comments. Main man Joe, featured prominently in that video. What a great day, dude. It was so awesome. The weather was great. What a great idea. Great job, Sinkers.
Well, it's great because not only did we get to taste and pick, they actually listened to us. Now, I don't know if they listened to us, but they at least heard us out when we were talking about the different barrel picks. And I think me and Adam were on a little bit different page than the rest of the group. We were trying to get a different barrel picked, but they were all really good. They all had, it's wild to me that even though the process is essentially the same from barrel to barrel, the difference in flavors are they're wildly all different. I mean, there were distinct 6 barrels that are like lit on fire the same way, placed in the same building, all had distinct different tastes. And what's really cool and what they're going to do is they're going to allow a bunch of people. So if you go join the in crowd, we're giving you a heads up. Go join the in crowd in around, I think, October, end of September, beginning of October. They are going to release that barrel pick in bottles. It's going to have the Sinkers logo on it. It's only going to be at Sinkers. So you got to join the Sinkers in crowd. I've recently learned that there's a Sinkers in crowd and then there's the Bob that is, so that's different for Bluegrass. So if you joined the Bluegrass in crowd version, you're not on the same list. So there's 2 different like reward systems there. But this is for Sinkers only. So you got to go join the in crowd there. And I've heard there may be a bottle or 2 given away on this show.
So we're going to have a couple of free bottles we're going to give away, but also we're going to get a couple of cases that we can sell to VIP customers on this show. So we're going to get probably 12 bottles possibly of this stuff. And I think your point is, like, I don't know about you, the things that I learned the most about the process, like I kind of know generally how it's made. Generally. But when you get into that rick house, which by the way is one of the coolest places I have ever been, and it looks like this old Chernobyl World War II like house, like, and literally built in 1894. And we go in there, and there again 6 stories of barrels, thousands of barrels in this warehouse. And I think you're exactly right. We have 6 separate barrels sitting there with the exact same recipe,
Right?
The exact same recipe stuck in 6 different barrels of the exact same product. All 6 tasting wildly different. And then we kind of narrow it down to 2, and then we argued about it. We used lots of fancy adjectives that nobody really would use in public, but like you have to do it for this process. Like, oh, it's very complex layered honey on the back end, and it's easily and approachable on the front end. The burn kind of lingers. Like we have all these fancy conversations. Tim can attest. But like they show you on the wall how long it takes you to burn each barrel on the inside. And they've got 4 different tiers of burn, and we're talking seconds, right? Like
Right.
At one point, by the way, shout out to Grant, who was the gentleman in the video, who's our host. He was awesome. And so there's one that's like the top burn, which is the least amount of burn, which is like 15 seconds of burn. Then it's like 30 seconds of burn. Then it's like 45 seconds of burn, and then it's like a minute of burn. And that can completely change the entire, flavor of the bourbon. But all these barrels were even burnt the same. So it is amazing. Like even where the barrel is in the warehouse can change the flavor and how it seeps into the wood and how the wood changes it. It was just eye-opening experience into how much care Adam and Nate put into picking something for their clients and doing something like for the people that want it and trying to do the best possible job, which is I cannot believe they let us be a part of that process. But honestly, truly one of the coolest things. So thank you to Sinkers. Tim and Joe, we had no incidents. Tim did not fall asleep, as he says. He wants it to be known that he did not fall asleep. Although if you want to see Tim in action, at FWordsPod on Twitter. Zach was apparently taking like secret photos of Tim the entire time.
Have to document.
It was rowdy on the way back for sure. We got into some music debates. You have to create a piss quorum to stop the bus. Just a really fun time, and thank you to Sinkers for doing it, man. It was really, really cool, and I can't wait to have we're gonna have a Russell's bourbon party here coming up in a couple of months. So
this is the perks of listening to this show. Like if you listen to the show, you're gonna get perks from our sponsors, and this is one of the many perks coming ahead. I mean, Sinkers is I think what was it, an anniversary or something that's coming up soon that we're gonna
Yep. They got a big time
be out
anniversary
there
coming up.
probably live at, and it's gonna have food, drinks, parties. You gotta join the in crowd and join the Bob for a football and other F words if you could, and then just enjoy the information and advanced access.
Favorite part of the trip was what, Zach?
I just thoroughly enjoyed learning everything about, like, we pulled up, right? So we pulled up at the front of the two buildings that I took a picture of and that you showed. And Nate's like, oh, these are probably really old ones that aren't even being used anymore. Those are the ones we go into. And I mean, there we're talking broken windows.
Yeah.
Like it looked like it survived something. Then you go in and it is just barrel after barrel, row and columns and floors. And it's mind blowing that all this product is sitting there. It's been sitting there for 10 years. Like all that product has been sitting there for 10 years.
And again, where it sits, the temperature, the humidity, like it's so much that goes into, again, the exact same recipe, tasting very, very differently. Of course, the South Park 12-year-old that I am, my favorite part, of course, the bunghole. If you're watching us, that is, they let me keep a bunghole, which is apparently the thing that goes into the hole of the barrel. And the thing that you saw in the video that you stick into the barrel is called the whiskey thief. Also a great word and a great name. For something you just drink whiskey out of. So again, bunghole and whiskey thief, two of my favorite parts as well. There it is, right there. Smells. Got a hint of honey. Some floral notes. Pretty good. It
was a good trip, and everybody got their own row on the bus, so it was very great.
Awesome, lots of space there. Sinkers, you guys are amazing. Also, of course, Kingston Group, also amazing. And part of the reason I'm pissed off right now is the guy who Kingston Group built our carport, and we love our carport. We're not talking about like an old metal rickety carport. We've got Bluetooth speakers. We've got a ceiling fan, like a storage shed attached to it. Like this is a substantial carport. They did an amazing job, so much so that I used the same guy who built the carport to do this little job we've got upstairs. It's happening right now. Well, we're trying to do a new oven hood in our kitchen. The people we had to use will remain nameless. They cannot figure out a way to freaking install this stupid oven hood. So you know who's going to help me solve the problem? My guy from the Kingston Group. My guy is going to be here all afternoon trying to figure out how to fucking fix this stupid oven hood problem that this other company who I had to use can't fix. So just another endorsement, personal experience, as they say in the business, with the Kingston Group. Just talk to them first, please. For the love of God, talk to them first.
Yes.
They solve all your problems. you have marital issues. You need a babysitter. Talk to the Kingston Group. They'll take care of you. Buildkg.com. Okay. Whew. I'm going to calm down, and we're going to talk about Ryan Tannehill flying planes. Final thoughts on Titans OTAs. We'll get to what's next in a second, but now that it's over, it's wrapped up. We went through the process. What's your top thought as we walk out of Titans OTAs, Zach?
I guess that it's really hard to figure out what my top thought is. It's almost like OTAs is going exactly like I thought it would. So it's not like I have some surprise takeaway. I guess the biggest surprise takeaway would be, and I don't even think it's really that much of a surprise, is that Malik Willis has more good than bad at practices. But if you listen to what Mike Vrabel says about going off script this last practice and talking about what Malik Willis still has to improve on, it's still the same stuff that Malik Willis has to improve upon. Like, yes, his footwork is better. Yes, maybe his release is better and he looks more comfortable in certain non-game situations, but as soon as they thrust him into a third down decision and situation to get out of the huddle, he still has to improve upon that particular situation, which is the whole point of what happened with Malik Willis last year, is that they were not comfortable with him operating the full breadth of the offense. Whether that offensive scheme is good or not, or the playbook is good or not, is irrelevant. Even if it's a bad playbook, which is apparently a predictable playbook, if you listen to A.J. Brown and the Philadelphia Eagles and the Cincinnati Bengals, he still couldn't run it. and he's
Yeah.
still having those issues, though he has cleaned up and improved upon a lot. These next 5 weeks are going to be crucial for him to continue his development. Same for Will Levis. But I am ready. Everybody's like, well, we'll just see how he is in training camp, and training camp will tell us a lot. Game situations is what's going to tell me. Preseason, you can glean a little bit, but unless he's thrust into a game, I don't know if I'm changing my position. Like, he's going to have to change my position in an NFL game.
Two things are true. He has shown marked improvement.
Yes.
He is clearly a better player, a more polished player, a more professional player, none of which should be surprising considering one of the main positives from last year as only a rookie was his sort of like work ethic and clear desire to get better. That's true. All of that is true. And he still might not be good enough to start as an NFL quarterback. That also could be true as well. And I think that's sort of where I stand on it with you as well, which is I think fans should be it's fine to feel excited or optimistic that he has made progress. It doesn't mean you need to go overboard with it. And here's the other thing. 5 weeks off, even if he's working every single day, I don't know if he can learn the thing he needs to learn to be good enough to start, because the only way you really can learn that thing is by throwing footballs against the defense. And so I don't know how many reps you can take like mentally and improve over the course of this whole deal. Is this a crazy hot take that Will Levis and Malik Willis are closer than Titans fans want them to be?
Well,
in terms of preparedness for the NFL?
Well, I guess it depends on what did you think they want them to be. Like, did you I guess because I don't know which way you're trying to lean. Are you trying to say that Will Levis is a little bit more advanced, is a little bit more of a year 2 player than Malik Willis is? Or I guess what are you trying to say?
I expected Will Levis to be clearly significantly ahead of Malik Willis, even as a first-year player.
Would I bet on that? Yes, for sure. I would have bet, and I probably did even say it and bet on it. But that's one. I mean, that's one of the things I would bet on. But am I surprised that Will Levis looks like a guy trying to learn how to swim? No, because
I think that's
we
right.
also have to remember that I keep saying this. Will Levis was not good in college, so I mean. I'm not surprised that he is not showing the signs of advanced rookie quarterback play that everybody tried to tell me that he was going to exhibit.
Well, this is where I have to obligatorily say, is that even a word, obligatorily? Yeah. I am obligated to say that he had a pretty damn good 2021, and I don't want any argument from you. I don't want any argument from you. Okay. You have your opinion. I have my opinion. Let's move on.
I think pretty damn good is pretty damn extreme.
I think what's interesting is going to be like the fact that they're kind of maybe closer than I expected. Maybe Malik Willis is a little better than I expected. Will Levis is not as good as I expected. Let's say it like that. Maybe is a better way to put it. But that if Will Levis has all the same attributes mentally, work ethic, etc., that Malik Willis has, which I think we all believe he does, then he will take that same big step next year. And this time next year will be way ahead of Malik Willis, is my opinion. So while I think they're maybe a little closer than I expected, I still think Levis is ahead, and Malik has had an entire season to develop. So I think that's where, I mean, he started football games in the NFL, for Christ's sake. So
and I think another difference is that Mike Vrabel even mentioned that Will Levis is not making the same mistakes over and over and over. That was not the case for Malik Willis, and technically probably still not the case because he's still making some of the same mistakes. So I guess the pace of growth from Will Levis will likely be faster than the pace of growth of Malik Willis, just based on a myriad of factors, like not repeating the same mistakes and his experience in a pro style offense. That will help speed up his growth. I think any kind of takeaways where you're saying that, quarterback A, or I guess quarterback B and C, but quarterback B is worse than quarterback C and all this kind of stuff is like, they should sort of, and we kind of talked about this on Football and Other F Words and on this show when we're previewing OTAs. They should kind of be on the same level. I think we even said they should be on the same level. I just don't think either of us had faith that they would be on the same level, but they should be on the same level if Will Levis is as good. And they kind of are. I understand, Malik Willis threw 2 red zone touchdowns while he threw 2 interceptions.
They were batted in the air. Whatever.
Okay. Yeah. Whatever.
Deflected at the line. So D Good says this: if they started the same year, Levis would be ahead of Willis.
That's a good way to put it.
With a year head start, they are on equal footing. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like that, they are closer than I expected. I still think Levis is ahead, and that is with an entire year of playing NFL football games. He actually started some games. Malik Willis did. So I think it's a good thing for Titans fans. But the difference is, I mean, not the difference. The key is it should be like that because Will Levis was graded out as a upper first half draft pick and Malik Willis wasn't. So like this is where it should be, right? Like he should be further along. And I think Titans fans have a right to be optimistic about what Will Levis might look like at this stage next year, because I think this year he is clearly ahead of where Malik Willis was last year by a pretty, like if you compare them both, like rookie OTA, minicamp OTA, year 1 for Willis, year 1 for Levis is leaps and bounds ahead of Willis. So I think it's sort of giving Willis the extra kind of oomph here to say that we're on level playing field. Christian Fulton was at practice. Apparently he's fully healthy. Apparently he's learned how to manage all of his issues. I think what's interesting is
completely healthy, but only stretched and then went back inside.
Yeah. And by the way, Clubhouse says also as of today, they roster all 3 quarterbacks. I think with the new rules, there's a very good chance that they are carrying 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think that was everybody's first instinct in Titans media is that this is a good thing for the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I mean, they're out of the Ryan Tannehill business next year. And so I think the perfect scenario is that Will Levis is ready to start next year and Malik Willis is a quality backup for either trade purposes or football purposes. That is, I think, the goal of what their current situation is. Christian Fulton, I think what's interesting to me is I am okay with players communicating with coaching staffs and trainers that I'm going to try something different. I'm going to be a little different. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. I just think we have to reiterate one really important factor. This is the most important chunk of time in Christian Fulton's professional life. Like, whatever happens over the course of the next 6 months for Christian Fulton, when he's away from the team for the next month, when he's at training camp, when they get into games, no matter what happens, no matter what his approach is, no matter what Mike Vrabel says, no matter what he says, no matter what happens, it is the most important 6 months of his entire career. Because if he's great and he's good, the Titans are winning and he makes a shit ton of money. If he's not, then he doesn't. So no pressure, big guy.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a guy that the most games he's played is 13. Like, hello, this whole Fulton thing feels like the last remnants of a John Robinson era that everybody's still trying to make work, right? Like
a limping hamstring.
Yeah, like Caleb Farley's still there, but nobody really cares that Caleb Farley's still there. Same with Dylan Radins, but this just feels like it's so odd how that 2020 draft class just can't stay healthy or can't amount to anything. And I look at Christian Fulton and like, we have seen tangible evidence that when he's healthy and can be a physical man cover corner, it works, right? Like we've seen proof of concept. But the problem is that there is nothing going on that instills confidence in anybody over the last year and a half, all last season up to this offseason, that makes me think that, is he even going to get paid $10 million a year when he becomes a free agent? Like he has to show out. And if he shows out, if you're the Titans, you have to let him go, right? Like even if he shows out, you have to let him go. You cannot sign a guy like Christian Fulton to a big contract.
It's almost like what you want out of Christian Fulton. So he's missed 20 out of 50 total games. He's played in 30 out of 50 total career games that are possible. So that's a big chunk. He's basically at 60-40 play or not play. He's good when he plays. He's not obviously available. I think what's fascinating is if you're Rand Carthon in a moment of privacy and honesty, what do you really truly want? And you're like, I want above average, consistent, healthy Christian Fulton who's not great. So therefore the asking price isn't high enough. And maybe I get him on a short-term deal to prove it again. And maybe that's like, you're almost rooting for him not to be elite because you're not going to win a Super Bowl this year.
If you're a Tennessee Titan fan or someone in the front office, this is what you want. You want that or better because you want the comp pick. You want him to hit free agency and you want him to get overpaid by someone else so you can get a comp pick that you are needing for 2025 because it won't take place this year. So you need more draft picks, and the San Francisco 49ers loved compensatory picks. So they need, and I'm sure Rand's going to be the same way. So they need him to show out, stay healthy, get paid by someone else. Because I think paying him, if you're the Tennessee Titans, even if it's a modest contract, is a mistake. So far, and here's my big takeaway from Mike Vrabel's press conference and OTAs, and what Chris Harris has said, what all the coaches have said so far. My big takeaway is that the Tennessee Titans want these free agents they just signed to earn a second contract with them, because Mike Vrabel loves every fucking free agent they signed. No joke. These are the guys you can tell by the way he talked about it yesterday, where he talked about Arden, Aziz, all the guys, Sean Murphy, all these defensive guys that they signed. He lights up like you know how he lit up between Kevin Byard, talk about Kevin Byard missing practice, Christian Fulton missing practice, that demeanor.
Yep.
This was the happiest I've ever seen Vrabel in the last 7 or 8 months, was him talking about these defensive free agents. I think they'd rather pay Sean Murphy Bunting for an average season than Christian Fulton for an above average season.
I can't think of, and outside of some like absurdly low contract offer, like 3 years, $15 million, like something absurdly low. Like I cannot come up with a scenario in which it is the right thing to do to sign Christian Fulton before the season, during the season, after the season. And a lot of times we look at these players and we go, no, if you get the deal done early, you can get a discount maybe because you give them some extra years, you give them some guaranteed money, maybe you get them at a little cheaper price. I don't think even doing that is worth it for this. I think you need to see so much more. And so I think there's not, again, unless he wants to come to the table right now and do some weird, absurdly low contract at like $5 million a year or something with all kinds of funky math, there's not even like a scenario where it makes sense for them to even have a conversation. Like with
I don't think. Listen, it would have to be one of the cheapest contracts that just makes you happy, right?
Or a 1-year deal, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, there's just nothing about Christian Fulton that screams Tennessee Titan long term. And I'll be honest, right now, there's nothing about Christian Fulton that screams NFL player long term. Like, I don't know if he's an NFL. I know it's early in your career, but he's got to show a lot. If he can stay, for me to have faith in him.
If he can stay healthy, he will have a job in the NFL for a while. He may not be a star, it may not be highly paid, but he's going to have a job for a while. I also think they've invested heavily. Elijah Molden, third round pick, right? Roger McCreary, second round pick. Caleb Farley, notwithstanding. You paid Amani Hooker, you paid Bunting, you've got Byard. Like, they've invested in their secondary, and I think they feel pretty comfortable with the people they've got. And Fulton is competing for a starting job in that secondary, but I think they feel pretty good about like the 7 guys. Chris Jackson in the back end there. Trey Avery was getting a lot of run in camp. Like, I just think they feel kind of okay with how many different types of players that they have. And we've talked about that ad nauseum, so we don't need to go down that road anymore. All right, let's get to the clickbait here. Are we concerned that Ryan Tannehill flies airplanes? Are we concerned? Is this a slap in Mike Vrabel's face? Now, players aren't allowed to do stuff like snowmobile or like skydive or some of these other things. There are some of those things in contracts. But flying an airplane, generally, way safer than driving your car. So how are we feeling about the Ryan Tannehill as a pilot now?
He's a pilot. That's about
on to the next topic.
I care about. Yeah, like I I guess I don't see the numbers for these fluff pieces that the media loves to cling to, these fluff storylines. Like when Theo Jackson, he went to whatever fucking school, loser ass school that is here in Tennessee.
See, Overton, don't you don't have to say
Overton.
loser. You don't have to be a rude asshole about it. Okay.
Listen. Overton, whatever. Those Bobcats, whatever they are with those stupid songs. I only say loser ass because I have 10 friends that go to Overton.
Okay, that's fair.
Including Mike. Include Mike.
If you're talking shit to your friends, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
But these stories just don't do it for me. They never have. They never will. It's like when Traylon Burks, got flown in by some random guy that works at a gas station that just happens to have his pilot license, whatever that story was. I just don't care.
Did you see
I assume though that these stories must do really, really well because the general public is just really, really stupid, I guess.
So fan of The Athletic, of course, and although they've laid off a lot of really good writers this week, I get a newsletter from a lot of different places, but one of them is The Athletic, and I was reading this morning. There's a like the third story in The Athletic newsletter today is about Derrick Henry. And it's about his origin story. And it's about how much fun it was to watch Derrick Henry as a high school senior on YouTube. And I love The Athletic. No disrespect, which means I can now say whatever I want. Where the fuck have you been on the Derrick Henry?
Was that not written by Joe?
No, I don't think it was. Wait a second. I went down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, during the middle of the fucking season last year, smack dab in the middle of the season. Well, if you hadn't been a running back, which position do you think you would have played? Who gives a flying fuck? We're in 2022. Why do we care what position Derrick Henry would have played when he was in high school, I guess back at 2009, 10, 11? I don't get it.
I covered him coming out of high school, so I know that I'm a nerd and I'm deep into the weeds on college football and recruiting. So I don't expect everyone to know. He is the all-time leading rusher in high school history in the United States. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that he was 6'2" in high school. Everyone knows that he was a monster. He's a 5-star recruit, and he went to Bama. He won multiple national championships. What are you uncovering in this story? And I'm sure again, I'm not knocking the writer. I'm not knocking the idea. There's still probably people out there that don't know this stuff. And again, it is fun it's kind of comical.
They don't know it. Do you think that they're subscribed to The Athletic? Because I feel like the people that subscribe to The Athletic know that story.
I would hope that you have, if you care about anything football related in this country, you probably sort of know that Derrick Henry is from the Jacksonville area.
Well, I wrote about it today for Stacking.
Josh Dobbs was an aerospace engineer.
Ryan Fitzpatrick went to Harvard.
Yes.
Antonio Gates played basketball. All that shit.
Those are good ones. Good polls.
But it's kind of there's something about the state of journalism today where journalism is a loose description of what actually happens. Because it's to a point where the attention span of the reader or the interest of the reader is not interested in necessarily the in-depth stuff. There is a place for the in-depth stuff, but it's not what the masses want. I mean, I don't know if Stoney's going to be mad if I say this story, but it's a little bit too late. He just wrote about the Applebee's rum buckets, and it did triple the numbers of anything Titans related on Sobero's network, which is insane. It makes you, as a guy like me, a sports writer, just want to write about Applebee's rum buckets.
Well, so this is we have this debate all the time on Lamestream Sports. It is a chicken or egg situation. If the vast majority
that piece is up to 10,000 page views on Applebee's rum buckets.
So,
10,
but again, this is the problem. That's not just the media's problem. It's big part the media's problem, but it's also you, the listener, and you, the fans' problem as well. If you guys, the audience, the sports fan, and now we're off in a media conversation here. If you guys didn't click on the clickbait, it wouldn't be clickbait and people wouldn't produce clickbait. But the clickbait works. And so therefore, news companies have become aggregators to put out cheap fast, quick content that doesn't have a lot of depth to it so that you will fucking click on it and it will get into the trend flow. And when it gets into the trend flow, it can go viral, and then we can get a bunch of traffic numbers that we can go sell advertising around.
But it's like the DeAndre Hopkins stuff, right? Like, so what happens if I wrote a what if the Titans signed DeAndre Hopkins, but it is 3,000 words of actual tangible information, right? Like it is estimates on looking at offenses of Tim Kelly compared to the offenses of Tennessee Titans, projecting depth charts and all this stuff. You go and look at the pieces that have been written. What would he do for the Titans offense at all fan-sided or Titans Wire or Sports Illustrated or anywhere that anybody else writes? It's all the exact same article. It is like, oh, well, the offense is going to be pretty good and they're going to be, better than what they thought. But there's no substance to it.
Okay,
and so that's just like this whole, to put a bow on Titans OTAs, I feel like there's a lot of empty calorie takes coming out of OTAs that don't have any substance, whereas the bigger stories is kind of what we talked about.
It's certainly, and again, like I think it's very important to say there is space for all of it. There is space for state-run propaganda, which is Mike Keith and Jim Wyatt and Amy Wells. They're very good at their job. They're very interesting people that tell great stories, but they are paid by the Titans to tell those stories. There are other people that are in hot take radio land, friends of mine. And then I think we offer a different type of product, and there's space for all of it. If you're a Titans fan, you can consume all of it. And Jason makes a great point. He says, I don't know, Tannehill flying around in a Buddy Holly prop plane is kind of interesting. Really didn't end great for Buddy Holly, of course. But I think there is, it's how you tell the story that's interesting. To me, what's interesting about the Ryan Tannehill thing, number one, there's like a personal story. Like, why are you interested in flying? What is it that appeals to you about this? That's not like a sports conversation. That's more of a person conversation. What I do think is interesting is, should NFL teams allow players, what's allowable and what's not? Who decides within the Titans organization what is allowed and what is not allowed? You're not allowed to snowmobile through the Arctic. You're not allowed to bungee jump in Arizona, but you can fly your own plane. Like, I'm curious who makes that decision, who's involved in that circle and making those decisions. I don't know if, Jason, that's the direction you're thinking when you think about this.
No, I think
subject,
it was Buddy Holly stuff.
But it was definitely dying in the plane is what you're talking about.
That's what I got out of it.
But isn't that the more interesting? Is like, what is allowed, what's not allowed, and who just makes that decision? That to me is the more nutritional conversation around that story, I guess. I don't know.
Listen, so I got a video up of we're watching. You can live stream where your dogs are playing and everything. And this dog just took 3 shits in the floor. Not one of ours, luckily. And the guy didn't even notice. The guy watching him and stuff.
Talk about empty calories.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I don't even know what to talk about now. Is there anything else? How about this? Any other position groups? I think the position groups are more interesting. I think we talked about this on Monday's show. I think the middle linebacker group is really, really interesting to track going into camp. The obvious ones are wide receiver and offensive line, but I think middle linebacker is interesting. We kind of talked about the outside linebackers being a little undervalued in terms of conversation around this team. We've talked already about the quarterback situation. Running back is what it is. I think the tight end group might be a little undercovered potentially, but you even brought up Trayvon Wesco on our conversation on Monday, so I think we've kind of reached the end of OTAs and we're ready for a little breather. And it's time for some training camp. They'll play the Patriots, I guess.
Yeah,
a couple practices. There.
We got like 15 articles about that.
Stoney. No empty calories on this show. Hey, Braden. The dog just shit 3 times on the floor.
If you're gonna be in the room with the dogs, and a dog takes 3 shits, show a little, reaction time there, my guy.
Sounds like the dog needs a bunghole plug is what it sounds like.
There you go.
This is bungholes right here, baby. All I see is Beavis putting his shirt up over his head. Okay. You want to talk some SEC football then? Go to Sinkers, by the way, Sinkers Beverages, Kingston Group. If you missed the video of our trip to Wild Turkey and to pick out the Russell Reserve, make sure you go check out the beginning part of the show today. If you missed it, please go check that out. All right, so the schedule comes out. I'm not going to lie. I thought this was like overhyped and built up into nothing, and it was going to be dramatic.
That's part of the discussion, though, right? Like, is the SEC turning into NFL Junior where everything is going to be hyped up and have its own dedicated night? And I think it was Oklahoma that had someone do the Sooner Scribbles. I don't know what the LSU thing is supposed to be. It looked like a praying mantis or an ant holding a human head. Like, oh, a giraffe, or is that what? I didn't get, but it was hilarious.
I was not excited about it when I was like, oh, I guess I'm gonna have to like interrupt family dinner to go watch this show or whatever.
Yeah.
I wasn't like super worked up about it. And then it happened, and I was like, "Oh shit, this is awesome!" And what it is
You got sucked in. That you did exactly what they wanted.
But here's why, and it's kind of to your point, though. People don't like this is just for 1 year. The only reason they can do this is because Texas and Oklahoma are joining for the first time, and they have an 8-game schedule. It could be a 9-game schedule the next year, 2025, which means they could do it all again and blow up all the schedules again and do it all again. Which, if they're smart, that's what they'll do for TV ratings. But like, what's interesting about this is that it's like a one-time thing, and they are putting monstrous games on the schedule. And I think that part,
these are some good-looking schedules, right? Like,
yes, I got sucked into that part for sure. Like thinking about the games that are going to happen, and
I mean, like, you can also predict coaching changes off this because obviously Clark Lee, he's gone after this Vanderbilt schedule is brutal. But I also look at the Ole Miss one, and I almost think that maybe Lane Kiffin tries to avoid this Ole Miss schedule and leaves after this year. Like, he's like, this schedule looks a little rough. I think I'm going to go take whatever job I'm going to get paid for.
My favorite part, so certainly the biggest games, like I moved to Nashville from Austin, so Texas and Texas A&M, which has not happened since 2011. Like, when you grow up in Austin in middle school playing football, especially like I did, you do not learn your mama so fat jokes. Like, that's not what you learn. And you learn, like, Aggies are so dumb. Aggies are so stupid. Aggies this, Aggies that. All you do is learn how to make fun of Aggies when you live in Austin. It's like, that's what the jokes are. And so that right there, number one, having that game back is just to see it on paper and then to spend a second in your mind and think about what Kyle Field in College Station is going to be like that week. Knowing Texas is coming into town for a conference game is like, as someone who lived there, it is off the charts exciting for me personally. The Alabama at Oklahoma game, Tennessee, Josh Heupel going back to his alma mater to play Oklahoma is fascinating. Georgia and Alabama playing is awesome in the regular season. Awesome. I think it's Georgia at Texas too, right? Which is also awesome.
Yep.
But here's to me one of the most interesting parts of this. And it happens for every team. I'll use South Carolina as an example. South Carolina normally on a schedule will play Georgia, Florida, and Tennessee every single year. They've played them every single year since 1992. They're not going to play a single one of those teams in 2024. However, they're going to play LSU, Bama, and Oklahoma, which they never play. So to me, that is just a wild thing to look at, to see so many crossover games because divisions are gone, remember. It's so wild to see so many new games, and it's all going to be just for 1 year because they're probably going to go to 9 conference games, in which case all of these games disappear and we go to the 3 permanent rivals, and then we have a whole new schedule. But like, it is wild how different the schedules are going to be in 2024.
Well, I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, if you're put yourself in a South Carolina fan's shoes. You're not playing any of your bigger 3 rivals over the last few years. You are getting Kentucky and Vanderbilt on the road,
Missouri at home,
and Missouri at home, and Lane Kiffin will be gone from Ole Miss by that time, so they'll have a new coach, so he'll be there. But like, are you happy with this? I mean, because I guess the purist in you, I'm sure, is like, keep the rivals and all this stuff. But I don't know. This is a pretty exciting, even if it's just for 1 year, like one season only, that's how you can kind of build it. 1 season only. It's complete chaos. Like,
I think that's why I got sucked in last night, was like, I know that this is probably a 1 year thing. And so I'm like, I'm going to enjoy the weird oddity, anomaly element of it all, and just embrace all these bizarre new matchups that I don't think Kentucky has played. I think Kentucky and Texas have played one time ever in like 1951, and now they're going to play a SEC football game. Like, and
Kentucky's got to go there too. Like,
right. And so I think I to me, what I like that they did, and some of it was based on like competitive advantage, like the best teams over the last 10 years versus I do think Vanderbilt got the toughest schedule, but Vanderbilt doesn't have the advantage of playing Vanderbilt. So there's that. I think like Ole Miss, for example, plays Vanderbilt in crossover every year, and they play the West. So if you look at their schedule, Ole Miss is going to play Georgia, Oklahoma, Kentucky, 3 teams they rarely play ever. They're going to play Florida and South Carolina. That is 5 teams out of 8 that they rarely play. And one they never play out of conference. So to me, that is interesting. It's new, and knowing that it's temporary allows me to sort of enjoy it a little bit more.
I was a little disappointed that none of Alabama's games are going to be at a neutral site, and I found it interesting that there wasn't really a lot of neutral site games, really, and I was a little surprised by that.
Well, it's actually I think it's one more than I expected, actually.
Oh yeah.
So Arkansas and A&M always play a neutral site game in Arlington. Florida and Georgia always play a neutral site game. And then Texas and Oklahoma. Those are the 3, I think. And I want to say there was like one other one that was thrown in there potentially. Here's some other rules just so that everybody knows. You can't play the same team in the same place as they do this year. So they had to make it home and road splits for next year. Every team had to play Georgia every team had to play Alabama. Texas or Oklahoma. Every team had to play one of the new teams at least once. So they're going to play everybody.
I did like that. I like that, which also always makes sense. Like, I guess when people say it, people have been saying it as a big deal and it's a good thing. But also, isn't that kind of how the schedule would have to work anyway between those 2 teams, adding them?
Kind of, yes. Okay. Like by like mathematics, yes.
Yeah, right.
I think of the 2 new teams, I think Texas, and this is going to make Mike and others at Broadway Sports Media, Justin, very happy. Should Texas do what they're supposed to do this year, which is a huge should, they are in a far better situation to enter the league next year with success than Oklahoma, in part, not their coach is better, their offense is better, their roster is better, all that stuff, but also their schedule is a little bit easier. Texas got an easier draw than Oklahoma in the first year, and that is largely based on the fact that Oklahoma has been the premier program for 25 years in the Big 12. So I'm okay with that. It just happens to be they might be entering into like their toughest 2 seasons as the program the last 20 years. And Texas might be the best they've been.
Where do you fall on the UT debate? Is it Tennessee or Texas? Because I feel like if you're coming into someone's home turf, if you're coming into the SEC, you are UT Junior. There has already been a well-established UT in this conference. I do not think you can carry over your Big 12 likeness over into this conference.
Okay, I'm loose. I'm stretched out. I'm ready to go.
And also, if it wasn't for Tennessee, Texas would still be not part of the United States.
The University of Tennessee, I believe, was founded in the 1700s. 1794, maybe? I don't know exactly what the number was. Texas was not a state in our union until 1845. And the reason they became a republic, their own country, in 1836, during the Texas Revolution, was because motherfucking volunteers from Tennessee went down there and died to make Texas a state. 100 years after the University of Tennessee was established as the University of Tennessee, the University of Texas was established. So, Tennessee is the real UT by a long shot. Having said that, who's the better football program over 100 years? They both began football in 1902. Texas is the better football program. They are the bigger, more powerful football program. They have won more national championships. They have won more football games. They've been to more bowl games. They have churned out more talent. They've put in more draft picks to the NFL. But Tennessee is not very far behind. So I think Tennessee is the original member of the SEC, Tennessee being 100 years older, and Tennessee literally being the reason that Texas exists as a state today. To me, the nod goes to Tennessee. I think it's a no-brainer. I don't see how anyone could argue. My brother's a Texas grad. I'm a Tennessee grad. I have had this argument and won every time. I rest my case.
agree. I agree with you because you're coming into someone else's home turf. You're gonna have to figure out a new little nickname, or just call yourselves the Longhorns or whatever you want. You just can't be UT. You could be UT Junior or UT, Dose if you want, but you can't be.
How do you feel about South Carolina fans that call themselves USC?
Oh, I hate it. I think it's stupid. You call yourselves SCAR if you want. But
I was right.
You are
I was
not
right.
USC.
1794 was the
Yeah.
year that University of Tennessee became the University of Tennessee. Technically, they started as Blount College.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Going back into the actual football analysis side of things, because we both agree on University of Tennessee's UT.
Suck it, Herndon.
Yeah. I look at the schedule, and I think the most intriguing team for 2024 that I'm interested to see what they do in 2023 to get themselves ready for 2024 is Florida. I think I'm interested to see what Billy Napier does this season. I don't expect a lot from him, but I'm interested to see what he does to maybe cause a ruckus in 2024. Does he show us enough that, okay, in 2024,
Man.
that's the year?
That is so they
It's
have a
tough
lot
schedule, but that's a fun schedule.
but they have a lot of work to do. And my concern about Billy Napier in Florida is that he's going to do all the hard work to build the foundation for the new program to be good, because they didn't have any of that infrastructure, scouting departments and graduate assistants and sort of recruiting. You have to have now an NFL style scouting department that scouts other rosters in college football. And Florida had none of that. They haven't recruited under Dan Mullen. Jim McElwain didn't build it. Will Muschamp didn't build it. And what I think is interesting is, I could see Florida's going to be in really good shape coming out of 2024, let's say, as a program from a structural standpoint. The question is, has Billy Napier won enough games to be the guy to take advantage of all that work? And you mentioned their schedule, and you look at what they've got, and you are home against LSU, A&M, Kentucky, and Ole Miss. You're on the road against Texas, Tennessee, Mississippi State, and neutral with Georgia, of course. So what's interesting is that there's some really tough games, but it's also, you could also manage it. You can win some of those things.
Yeah, it's are you going to be Kentucky, Vanderbilt, or are you going to get back to being the LSU, University of Tennessee level? I'm so interested what we can take away from this season in projecting the 2024 season. Oh, we lost you. You touched something on your computer, and we lost you. We lost Braden. Braden's not here, but that's what I mean. While we're waiting for Braden maybe to exit and come back in so we can hear him. I'm just going to wrap it up. I'm closing the show. So we're closing the show. Braden has messed with this thing. But I just want to say, looking at the Florida schedule itself for 2024, I want to see what they can do in 2023. So are they going to be something in 2024? Because they got a lot of games that they are able to maybe disrupt in. Can we hear you?
Hey, man.
There you are.
Tim says he's really disappointed in Auburn's schedule. I like Auburn's schedule. So anyway.
I'm interested. Auburn is going to be a couple years behind probably Florida in that kind of progression. I'm interested to see what Arkansas does after this year, because they going to lose a few players that are valuable. And they have a kind of winnable schedule for the most part in 2024. It's going to be a very interesting SEC year record-wise, right? Because,
yes.
Vanderbilt's not going to win a game. But everybody else, it seems like it could almost be a bunch of 8-8 teams, even though it's not 8. I mean, technically that wouldn't make sense. But this will make 500 teams. This
will make Tim happy, because I think the one thing I disagree with you on is I think Auburn's going to jump past Florida quickly.
Oh wow!
Because I think that's what Hugh Freeze does. The question is, do they burn out quickly as well? I think that's the question. They will play Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and Arkansas at home. I think you guys got an incredibly difficult schedule. Vanderbilt's on there because you need a win. But Bama, Georgia, Kentucky, Missouri at home. Maybe Auburn fans, maybe Tim, you don't look at Missouri as an interesting game, and I get that. But Bama, Georgia, Oklahoma, A&M, Arkansas, That's 5 bangers, and then Kentucky's pretty decent. I know that's not a rival, but you don't get to play them very often. So enjoy going to Lexington, man. Go back to bourbon country, Tim. Go have a good time up there in Lexington. Lexington's a great place to go watch a game. So I don't know. I like Auburn's schedule.
I think it's
hard. It's hard. It's hard. Every one of these is hard. I caught some shit on Twitter from Tennessee fans because I thought I heard some people complaining about stuff. And I saw a few complaints, and there were a few quote tweets, and like everything on Twitter, Zach, you kind of can get caught up in the moment, and you fire off a tweet because you have a reaction to something, and the world tells you were wrong. I saw a couple people quote tweeting Tennessee fans who are like complaining about how the SEC office screwed over Tennessee, and Danny White and Josh Heupel didn't do their jobs, and of course it was only like 3 of them. So I told Tennessee fans to stop bitching, and then I got ratioed hardcore on Twitter. So I guess that means Tennessee fans, the vast majority of them, are acting appropriately, which would be a change. So apparently they are accurately okay with their schedule, which I think they should be because, it's a tough schedule. They're all tough. It's a lot of tough schedules.
I mean, like, it's just naturally tough because you're in a naturally tough conference.
And here's the last thing I'll end with why I want 9 games. I don't want, like, if you are a big boy program who wants to play big boy college football and compete for national championships, you want a big boy schedule. Quit hiding from the 9-game conference schedule. You want a big boy schedule. I want Florida. If I'm a Tennessee fan, I want Florida every year. I want Alabama every year. If I'm Alabama, I want Auburn, I want LSU, and I want Tennessee. Like, you should want the big boy games. Because the committee on a 12-team playoff is going to put you in if you challenge yourself. If you're 10-2, you're going to get in. You might get in at 9-3 with those kind of schedules. I think you should want the tough games, watch great football, resumes and all that shit. Don't worry about it. Just give me the best possible football. That's what I want.
Yeah.
End of rant.
You.
All right. Sorry about my technical difficulty there. I smacked my computer because I was so worked up. So there you go. Otherwise, Sinkers Beverages, truly, one of the most unique experiences of my entire broadcasting career to get to go do that, see how it all unfolded, see how it all worked. And that only comes from a product and a place like Sinkers Beverages, who was the liquor store of the year in 2022 by the Nashville scene. I don't know about you, but they're way ahead of the game in 2023 with my vote. So go check out Sinkers Beverages. Sign up for the in-crowd. You're going to have access to all kinds of cool allocations. We got other events we're planning. You've already seen now what they can do. We got more stuff coming for you guys as well. And the Kingston Group, just avoid problems with your house, with renovations, with buying, and with selling. Just call them. Let them help you out. Let them talk you through the process. They will absolutely do something for you. You will benefit from having that relationship. I promise you. So go check them out. BuildKG.com. Stacking the inbox as well. Football and other F words. Zach, where can people find you?
At FWordSpot on Twitter, and Football and Other F Words, obviously, as well. Every Wednesday, we had a good show with Cole.
Guest this
last
week.
Name? Yeah, we had
Brown.
A guest this week, Cole Brown. It didn't sound right, and I started second guessing myself. But Cole Brown, former scouting assistant, who's also done some recruiting work and all this kind of stuff for various college programs. It's a pretty interesting little insight into possible hiccups in the Titans scouting department with guys like Isaiah Wilson, Christian Fulton, stuff like that.
Yeah, there you go. And again, subscribe to stackingtheinbox.com. Joe and Tim, I hope you guys had a great time. It was great hanging out with you guys. Adam, Nathan, our main man Grant up there at Wild Turkey. You guys were all really, really good. You guys were awesome. It was so much fun. We really appreciate you. And thank you guys for listening. That's why you listen to the shows. We're going to have more stuff like that for you. So check out the in-crowd and stay tuned, rate, review, and subscribe. For Zach, I am Braden. Have a great weekend, everybody. This has been a football show.